Masechta Chala, Parak Daled Mishnah Zayin. The Hemshech of the Parak will try to finish the Masechta. Yisrael Shahayu Arisan Lertei Kechavim B'Surya. Regarding the Yidden who are sharecroppers in the fields of Goyim in Surya. So Surya is a country that was located in what's now, today, known as the northern part of Syria, along the banks of the Euphrates River, was conquered and added to Eretz Yisrael by David HaMelech. So there's Kibush Yochid and there's Kibush Rabbim. So this is a Kibush Yochid of David HaMelech. Rambam talks about it at the beginning of Hilchos Klaim. Since the conquest of Syria took place before the entire Eretz Yisrael area was completely conquered and divided, Syria does not have the status of Eretz Yisrael min HaTorah. So the Mishnah is going to talk about two machlekes, and one which is pertaining to Hilchos Chala, regarding the status of the produce from Syria. So Yisrael Shahayu Arisan Lertei Kechavim B'Surya, regarding the Yidden who are sharecroppers that worked for Goyim in Syria. A sharecropper is not paid a set amount for his work, rather he receives a percentage of the harvested crop from the owner of the land. Rabbi Eliezer mechayev periseim b'maisos b'shvius. Rabbi Eliezer paskins that their produce is mechuyev in maisos and shmita midrabanon, because midrabanon Surya does have hilchas Eretz Yisrael le'inyan hilchas maisos and shmita. Produce that's grown in Eretz Yisrael on property that's owned by a goy is mechuyev in maisos and shmita mishtetin gemara. According to Rabbi Eliezer, the same is true for produce that grew on a goy's land in Syria. And the Aris, the sharecropper, must therefore take off meiser of his produce during the first 6 years of the Shemitah cycle. And on the 7th year, he has to be noig Shemitah with the peiros over there as well. Ram Gamliel Poiter, Ram Gamliel paskins that it's part from these halachas. According to Ram Gamliel, the chiv midrabanan and meisers and Shemitah in Syria are limited to produce grown on the land that's owned entirely by Yidden, not by Goyim. So according to Ram Gamliel, if a Goy owns any share of the land in Syria, such as if a Goy and a Yid are shutvim, or where a Yid works as an aris on a Goy's land, the peiros are not mechuyev in Maisos and Shemitah. Ram Gamliel Omer Shtei Chalas B'Surya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer Chala Achas. What is it talking about? We'll see in the next Mishnah that although there's no chiv in the Raisa of Chala outside Eretz Yisrael, the Chachamim were geyser that you need to do two hafroshes Chala. One's burnt and the other one's given to a kayin. In Eretz Yisrael, however, only one portion is separated. What's the pshat in this halacha? What's going on here? This is a gzerim in the Rabbanon that there's tumah of Eretz Amim because there could be unmarked kvarim there. So Goyim didn't always bury the dead in marked graves or cemeteries. So any place that belongs to a Goy that previously belonged to a Goy might have a din of a kever. So midrabanon chala is separated outside Eretz Yisrael. However, the chala is tameh because of tumas Eretz Amim. Therefore, such chala may not be eaten; it must be burnt. The chacham were geyser, however, that additional portion of dam must be separated outside Eretz Yisrael and given to a kayin to eat, even if he's tameh, so that people living there will not forget that chala actually belongs to the kahanim. So Rabbi Gamliel Omer Shtei Chalas B'Surya. Rabbi Gamliel says you got to do these two chalas, shlet t'shtakach teres chala, and the other one is to get burnt for the real hafrashas chala. And Rabbi Eliezer Omer Chala Achas, Rabbi Eliezer says in Syria you only got to do one because it's like Eretz Yisrael. According to Rabbi Gamliel, Syria was included in the Gzeira that had tumah of Eretz Amim, tumas chutz la'aretz, and therefore two portions of challah must be separated from the dough that you made in Syria for the same reason that it's done anywhere else in chutz la'aretz. So Rabbi Eliezer holds that because it does have hilchas Eretz Yisrael, I don't want to use the term kedushas Eretz Yisrael because if it is or not. Rabbi Eliezer, on the other hand, holds that the Chachamim said that Syria does have the din of Eretz Yisrael. So Syria does not have a din of Tum of Eretz Amim, so one portion of challah separated from the dough in Syria is enough. So Arzu Kulesh Rabbi Gamliel Kulesh Rabbi Eliezer. Originally, the people took on the Kula Rabbi Gamliel regarding Maisos and Shemitah, that Syria is part of Maisos and Shemitah, and Kulesh Rabbi Eliezer Midinei Chala, they only have to be mafresh one chala. But then, meaning that the Yiddish sharecroppers in Syria were not Shemer Shemitah or Maisers, and they only separated one chala. So they, in regard to Maiser and Shemitah, they were not like Chutz La'aretz. In regard to chala, they were not like Eretz Yisrael. So Chazru Linek Yedivrei Rav Gamliel B'Shtei Drachim. When they were made aware of the inconsistency of this mahalach, they changed the mahalach to follow Shitas Rav Gamliel through and through. who did not equate Surya with Eretz Yisrael in either matter. Thus, the Arisin of Surya did not observe Hilchas Maises and Shemitah, but they did separate two portions of challah from the dough of Surya. Mishnah Ches. Rabbi Gamliel Omer Shalish Harotis L'Challah. Minatara, the mitzvah of challah applies only in Eretz Yisrael and only when most of the Yidden are living there. However, the Chacham regards that the challah should be separated even nowadays, even outside Eretz Yisrael. Nevertheless, different areas have different halachas based on the following criteria. When Yeshua ben Nun conquered Eretz Yisrael after Yetzias Mitzrayim, after they came into Eretz Yisrael, he was makadosh the lands that he conquered. However, this kedusha ended when the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and the Yidden went to Golus Bavel. Understand in Rambam. 70 years later, the Golus Bavel returned to Eretz Yisrael under the leadership of Ezra, and they reconquered much of Eretz Yisrael, but not all of it, and they were makadosh the areas that they conquered. The kedusha Shniya, according to this Mishnah, remains in effect even today. Kedusha Shniya Kitcha Gam La'osed Lovely. So there are three areas regarding challah. There's the area that was niskadish by Yeshua and was niskadish by Ezra as well, which would still have kedusha today. Number two, the area that was niskadish by Yeshua, which was kadosh only until the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed and no longer kadosh at all. And the third area is that lands that were conquered not by Yeshua or by Ezra and never had kedusha. So in regard to Hilchas Challah, this is going to be nafkaminis, and the Mishnah is going to speak it out. The three regions in the respect to Hilchas Challah, Eretz Yisrael ad Kiziv Challah Achas, in the area of Eretz Yisrael until the city of Kiziv. Kiziv is the northernmost city to be conquered and was niskadish the second time by the people who were Oila im Ezra. Although the main northern border established by Ezra runs parallel to the town of Akkoy, which is south of Kiziv, a strip of land extending northward from Akka to Kiziv is also conquered and sanctified. It's even higher than Akka is a place called Kiziv. So in this area, you only have to separate one challah. One challah is given to a kohen and it has to be eaten by him when he or she is tahar. And that's the halacha. That's the halacha. That this area of Eretz Yisrael is niskadish even today. Nevertheless, in our times, when the majority of the Yidden don't live on the land, it's only a chiyuv d'Rabbanan. Mikziv v'ad Nor v'ad Amana shtei chalas. In the area from Kiziv eastward until the river, and from Kiziv westward until the mountains of Amana, it's unclear exactly which river the Mishnah is referring to. Amana is a mountain or group of mountains in the northwestern corner of Eretz Yisrael, which was originally part of Eretz Yisrael but not conquered by Ezra. So two challah portions are separated. Achas la'or wants to be burnt in the fire since the area is tameh from Tumas Eretz Am. Achas la'kohen wants to be given to the kohen, like we mentioned in the previous Mishnah, so that people should understand that the one that's burned in the fire is burned because of Tumah. Shel ur yesh l'shir, the one burned in the fire must have a minimum measure. V'shel kohen ein l'shir, while the one that's given to the kohen has no shir. As in the area of Eretz Yisrael that was niskadish by Ezra, the challah needs to be 1/24 or 1/48 of the dough. However, the two portions are separated. This requirement applies only to one of them. So Chachamim apply the requirement to the portion of challah that's burnt, which is similar to the chiyuv haTorah of challah, since it's burnt because it's tameh. From the riverbank and from the foot of Amana mountains inward, towards the river eastward and towards the mountain westward, the entire area from the riverbank into the river and beyond, and from the foot of the mountains into the mountains and beyond, two challah portions are separated. Achas or wants to be burnt in the fire since the area is tameh from Tumas Eretz Amim. Achas l'kohen and wants to be given to the kohen, so that the halacha that challah is given to a kohen should not be forgotten. Shel tishtakach teres challah. Shel or ein l'shir, the one burned in the fire has no shir. V'shel kohen yesh l'shir, while the one of the kohen must have a minimum shir, as we just explained. Utvul yom oichla, but a kohen or a member of his household who's a tvul yom may eat the challah that otherwise would have been burnt in the fire. That is, we must burn the first portion of challah and give a second portion to the kohen only when there's no kohen available who is mitar himself from his carry. If a kohen who is tovel is present, so this hafrashas challah that would have been burnt is given to him to eat betara, and there's no need to separate the second portion. Rabbi Yossi Omer ein tzarich tvila, it doesn't have to be tovel in order to eat challah chutz la'aretz. So Rabbi Yossi holds that since challah outside Eretz Yisrael is midrabanan, it may be eaten by a kohen who is tameh tumas keri. V'asur lazav lazav is lanidav layoldas. Challah separated outside Eretz Yisrael is forbidden to a kohen or a member of his household who's a zav or a nida, or a woman who has given birth. Therefore, if the only available Kehanim or members of their family are Tameh with the Tumah Hayotzim and Aguf, the two portions of Challah must be set aside. One portion is burnt, and the other portion may be eaten even by the Kehanim or Tameh B'Tumah Hayotzim Min Aguf. Now, the Challah of Eretz Yisrael is subject to a number of restrictions. A Kohen may not eat Challah of Eretz Yisrael on a table where a non-Kohen is eating out of concern that the non-Kohen may end up eating the Challah. But this Challah, the second Challah, may be eaten by a Kohen along with the non-Kohen at the table. The Chacham were not gozer that he may eat it together, that the Zar may eat it. V'nitanis l'chol Kohen may given to any Kohen, even one who is not careful to eat Chulin b'Tahara. Mishnah Tes. Ve'elu nitan l'chol Kohen. These, any types of matnas kahuna could be given to any Kohen. Hacharamim, if someone declares this property as cherem, it's divided among the Kohanim, the property becomes kadosh for as long as it's in the owner's possession. As soon as it's given to the Kohanim, it becomes chulin, and there's no need to keep it tahar because it becomes chulin. B'chayros, the firstborn animal offerings, upidin haben, upidin petach hamar. Pidin haben is when you're paid the firstborn son when he's 30 days old. Pidin petach hamar, being part of the sheep from the firstborn donkey. V'azrael l'chayayim v'keva, the four-legged jaws and the fourth stomach of a kosher animal also have to go to the Kohen. When someone shechs a kosher animal that's chulin, he's required to give these three parts of an animal to a Kohen. V'reishis hagez, the first of the fleece, the first of the shearing of the sheep must be given to a Kohen. V'shem and streifa, oil of truma that must be burnt because it's tamei. V'kachei hamikdash, v'abikurim, the Kohen's portion of kachei hamikdash. And Kachei Mikdash is referring to karbanos, bikurim, which are brought to the Beis Hamikdash also. That can be given to any Kohen, even one that's not zohir to eat it b'tahara. Rabbi Yehuda forbids giving bikurim to a Kohen who's not careful about tumah. Bikurim are not brought on the mizbeach. Rabbi Yehuda therefore treats bikurim like challah and truma of Eretz Yisrael, which may be given only to a Kohen who is careful to eat chulin b'tahara. Kashine truma, vetch, a certain type of herb, which is truma, which may be given to animals. Rabbi Kiva matir. Rabbi Kiva is matir, giving it to any Kohen, even one who's not careful to eat chulin b'tahara. Chachamim say it's also, since people eat it during a famine, the Chachamim classify it as human food, and it must be safeguarded from tumah. Therefore, it may be given only to a Kohen who can be trusted to protect the truma from tumah. Mishnah Yud. Nitai ish tekaya hevi chalas mi beitar. Nitai, who is a resident of Tekaya, Tekaya is a place in Eretz Yisrael, he brought challah from Beitar, which is a town outside of Eretz Yisrael that he was visiting, in order to distribute to the Kohanim of Tekaya. Beisar over here should not be confused with the famous city known as Beitar, which was located in Eretz Yisrael and destroyed by Hadrian's Roman army 52 years after the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. Rather, this mission is discussing a town outside Eretz Yisrael with the same or similar name. V'lo kiblu mimenu, but they didn't accept the challah from him because challah separated out to Eretz Yisrael is tamei due to the din d'Rabbanan of Tumas Eretz Amim. Instead, they instructed Nitai to save the challah and burn it with the chametz before Pesach. That's where it comes from. Today, to burn it before Pesach. Some people burn it whenever they get a chance to burn things. Anshe Alexandria heviu chaliseim. Alexandria, in a similar incident, the residents of Alexandria brought the challah portions to Eretz Yisrael from Egypt, either from Egypt or from a city with the same name on the Syrian coast, but the challah was separated outside Eretz Yisrael. Like Kiblu Mehem, they didn't accept it from them. Anshe Har Tzavayim heviu bikureim kodem atzeras. The residents of Har Tzavayim brought their bikurim to the Beis Hamikdash before Shavuos, like Kiblu Mehem, and they didn't accept the bikurim from them because the pasuk says the Chag HaKotzah bikurim masecha shetizra basoda, and the Chag HaKotzah, which was referring to Shavuos, you should plant in your field, referring to the Shtei HaLechem as the first fruits. And the pasuk teaches that bikurim may not be brought until the Shtei HaLechem was brought. So they brought it before they were marked with the Shtei HaLechem, so they didn't want to accept it. Okay, Mishnah Yud Aleph. Ben Antinus Hela Becheres mi Bavel. Ben Antinus brought Becheres, firstborn animals from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael for the Kohanim to be makriv like Kiblu Mimenu. They didn't accept it for them because only a Bechar born in Eretz Yisrael are you makriv on the Mizbeach, and not a Bechar that's from Chutz La'aretz. Yosef HaKohen hevi Bikur Yain B'Shem like Kiblu Mimenu. Yosef HaKohen brought grapes and olives that grew in Eretz Yisrael's Bikurim in the form of wine and oil, and they didn't accept it from him, since you have to bring the fruits itself and not the juice. He also brought his young children before Bar Mitzvah to bring in Pesach Sheni on the 14th of Iyar in Yerushalayim. And they returned them back, preventing him from offering Pesach Sheni on behalf of his sons. So that the matter of having minor children participate in Pesach Sheni should have become a chayva. A person includes his ketanim in the Pesach Rishon since he's mechuyev to bring them to the Beis Hamikdash. However, there's no chiyuv to bring kohanim to the second Beis Hamikdash, so they sent them home because there's no din of Yirah Kol Zechorcha about Pesach Sheni just to bring a korban Pesach. Aristoin Hevi Bikurim me Apamya. Aristoin brought his Bikurim to the Beis Hamikdash from Apamya, which is a city in Syria that was outside the biblical borders of Eretz Yisrael. With Kiblu Mimenu, they accepted Bikurim from him. Because the Chacham said one who purchases land in Syria is like one who purchases land in the very outskirts of Yerushalayim. So the Chacham regards that Bikurim must be brought from produce grown in Syria, just as it must be brought from produce grown in the outskirts of Yerushalayim. The next year we'll be starting the Hakdama to Masechta Orla. Bez Hashem Yisbarach.